This happened about 3 years ago. I was 35 and had just moved to a new city for a job as a data analyst. I enjoyed the quiet of my small apartment, even when the rain drummed against the window. I thought living alone would give me some peace, but I always felt sort of isolated, like I was just an observer in this bustling city. I never stopped thinking about what happened during those storms. On my third evening in the apartment, a thunderstorm rolled in. The rain was heavy, pounding the glass and making the night feel cozy. I was on my couch, working, when I heard a tapping. At first, I thought it was just the rain. Then it grew louder, almost like someone knocking. I told myself it was just my imagination. Maybe the wind was playing tricks on me. Weeks passed, and the storms kept coming. Each time, the tapping would return, sometimes with shadows flitting past my window. I felt uneasy, but I tried to ignore it. I worked late sometimes, and maybe my mind just played games with me. One night, during a really bad storm, the lights began to flicker. My heart raced as I listened closely. I heard a voice, panicked and distant, echo from the hallway outside. It slipped away as quickly as it came. I felt cold. I didn't know what was happening, and I didn't want to dwell on it. But, after each storm, the feeling of unease grew stronger. The tapping continued. The shadows seemed more real, almost like I could make out shapes in them. One night, I stood by the window, staring into the pouring rain. My heart pounded as I noticed movement. For a moment, I thought I saw someone standing out there. When I looked again, nothing was there. Honestly, I stopped sleeping well. I spent hours, nervously waiting for the next storm. I felt paranoid, like I was being watched or followed. I could hear my neighbor's TV, which made me feel more alone in my little world. I wasn't sure where to turn. Was I losing my mind? And then, it happened again. The tapping started, persistent like a finger on glass. My breathing quickened. I wanted to throw the curtains closed, but something pulled me to the window again. I looked outside. There was a shadow staring back at me, unmoving. I froze, too scared to call out or move. Then I blinked, and it was gone. That experience still haunts me. Then came the night that changed everything. The storm was fierce. The tapping loud enough to drown out the thunder. I stood by the window again, feeling drawn to look outside. I saw the shadow, clearer this time. It was small, almost childlike. I couldn't move. Then it whispered, "Help me." My heart raced, and as I gasped, it disappeared into thin air, just like that. I never figured out what was real and what was in my head. The tapping stopped after that night, but I still think about it. I don't know if I will ever find peace with those memories. The days that followed felt heavy. I tried to push the memory of the shadow to the back of my mind. I focused on work, telling myself that was what mattered. I buried myself in spreadsheets and data analysis, but the unease lingered. My once cozy apartment now felt like a trap. One evening, a month after the last storm, I found myself pacing. I had convinced myself I needed to understand what happened that night. I grabbed my jacket and headed out. The rain had cleared, but the sky remained overcast. Maybe, I thought, talking to my neighbors would help. I knocked on the door next to mine. An older woman answered, peering through the narrow gap. Her eyes wandered cautiously before settling on me. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice warm but laced with wariness. I introduced myself and explained my concern about the storms. I mentioned the sounds I'd heard. Her expression shifted. "Strange things have happened in this building," she said slowly. "There's a history here. You're not the first to feel uneasy during storms." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "There are stories," she responded, glancing down the hallway. "Disappearing pets, power fluctuations, and shadows in the hallway. I've felt it too, like something watches from the dark. I felt a chill undermine my resolve. Could it be just our minds playing tricks? She shook her head. Maybe. Maybe not. Just be careful. Sometimes curiosity pulls us into things we don't want to know. I thanked her and returned to my apartment, my heart racing. What stories surrounded me? Why hadn't I asked more questions? The tapping might have stopped, but the shadow lingered in my mind, and now I couldn't shake off the sense of something deeper, something sinister. A couple of weeks passed without incident until the night of another storm rolled in. I prepared myself. I couldn't just avoid it this time. I tucked the curtains to the side and sat by the window, watching the rain blur the world outside. The tapping started again, soft at first, like a child's fingers on glass. My body tensed, and I fought the urge to shut the curtains. I needed answers. I focused on the sound, heart pounding, waiting for more. Then, without warning, the lights flickered and went out, plunging the room into darkness. I gasped, barely able to breathe. I heard a distinct rustle, like someone moving just outside my door. "Hello?" I called, my voice trembling. No answer. Suddenly, I saw the shadow again, but this time it was directly in front of me, a small figure barely illuminated by the light of my dying electronics. "Help me," it whispered again, and then everything went dark. The fear surged, demanding I choose between running or facing it, but I couldn't move. The weight of my fear pinned me to my seat. I waited for the next storm, fully aware that I would have to confront whatever was watching. I needed to know. My hands shook as I reached for my phone. This time, I would record it all. I had to unravel the truth, no matter how terrifying it might be. I had no idea what awaited me, but I felt it was time to find out. The storm hit again, fierce and unrelenting. The wind rattled my windows as I sat on my couch, phone in hand. I had set up an app to record any sounds. I knew I couldn't ignore this anymore. I would confront the shadow. The flickering of the lights became a familiar dance in the dark. I steeled myself, reminding myself of the words from my neighbor. I wasn't going crazy, this place had its history. Whatever it was real. I listened intently as the rain crashed against the window. Then I heard it, that same gentle tapping. It felt nearer this time, like soft knocks on a door waiting to be opened. A chill ran down my spine. Was it calling to me? Or warning me? I got up, hesitantly moving toward the door. The tapping grew louder, more insistent. What if I opened it and found nothing? Or worse, what if I found something? I took a breath, reminding myself I needed answers. As I approached the door, the sound stopped abruptly. Silence wrapped around me, thick and suffocating. I hesitated, hand hovering over the doorknob. Then, a loud crash of thunder rolled through the air, followed by a blinding flash that illuminated my living room. For a fleeting moment, I saw the shadow again, lurking at the corner of my vision, just beyond the reach of the light. I backed away, heart racing. "Stop it. Show yourself," I yelled, my voice trembling. The storm raged outside as if responding to my challenge. The wind howled, vibrating through the walls while I stood frozen. Then, just as suddenly as it had started, the tapping resumed. Not on the door this time, but inside the apartment. My phone buzzed an alert for low battery. The light from the screen dimmed, and I could barely see anything now. Everything felt like it was closing in on me. In desperation, I aimed my phone towards where I thought I heard the tapping. "I'm recording this," I shouted, hoping to either frighten it away or somehow capture evidence. I played it back, listening closely, but all I could hear was the thrumming of my own heartbeat mingling with the sounds of the storm. That's when I noticed something. A shadow moved across the far wall, stretching and bending in ways a person couldn't. I squinted, trying to see through the dim glow of my phone. My breath quickened as I realized it wasn't just a shadow, it was a shape. It was forming into something. "I'm not afraid of you," I blurted out, though I knew I wasn't being truthful. I wanted to run, but curiosity rooted me to the spot. The shadow stopped moving. It seemed to be watching me now. With a shaky hand, I pointed my phone toward it. "What do you want?" I whispered, the bravado fading from my voice. Lightning flashed again, casting long, eerie shapes across the room. And then it started whispering again. "Help me," it pleaded, but this time there was a twist of urgency in its tone, a need I didn't understand. Suddenly, my phone turned off completely. The screen went dark. I felt a surge of panic. I was engulfed in darkness and not alone. Then I heard it. Another sound, louder and more threatening. It was coming from inside my apartment. As the darkness closed in, I felt the ground beneath me shift as if responding to the echoing sound. It pulsed through my bones, a deep thump, like a heartbeat. I took a step back, feeling the wall press against my back. My instinct screamed at me to get out, but I couldn't move. The next thump was more pronounced, reverberating through the room. I had to face whatever was making that noise. Gripping the edge of the couch, I turned slowly, forcing myself to peer into the inky blackness that enveloped my apartment. Then I saw it. A silhouette emerged from the corner by the bookshelf. Unlike the previous shadow, this one was more defined, its edges sharp against the flickering light from the sporadic flashes of lightning outside. I couldn't make out any features, just an outline that seemed to sway, like smoke caught in a draft. "Who are you?" I croaked. My voice felt small and helpless. The shadow didn't respond in words but shifted closer. My breathing turned shallow as I felt a chill, not just from fear but from something cold brushing against my skin. I looked down and noticed a faint mist swirling around my feet. It was unlike anything I'd ever encountered, a thick, gray fog crawling and coiling like it had a mind of its own. Suddenly, the shadow reached a hand towards me. It was a spectral hand, translucent and grasping. I wanted to recoil, but I stayed rooted to the spot. I had to know what it wanted. "Help you with what?" I asked, desperation creeping into my tone. Its voice rose like a wind through the trees, low and echoing. "Help me finish what I started." A shocking realization hit me. This wasn't just a ghost randomly haunting my home. It was something else, something tied to the very walls of this place. My heart raced. "Finish what?" I pressed, feeling a mix of dread and curiosity. Just as it seemed I was about to get an answer, another loud crash of thunder shook the apartment. The lights flickered back on for a heartbeat, illuminating not just the shadow but the entire room. Boxes were scattered everywhere, the pictures on the walls askew. And there, among the mess, lay a dusty old book that I had never seen before, barely visible under a pile of scattered papers. When the lightning faded, the shadow was gone. The room fell silent again, the storm's intensity waning as if it knew the confrontation had only just begun. Taking a shaky breath, I rushed toward the book. Its spine was cracked and leather-bound, dust gathering thickly over its surface. The words "Arcane Secrets" embossed on the cover sent a thrill down my spine. I had to know what was inside. This could be the key to understanding what had haunted me. Just then, I heard a rustle from the kitchen, a sound far too deliberate to be the storm. My heart sank as I realized I wasn't alone anymore. I wasn't just the observer. Now, I felt caught in a web, and that web was tightening. I took a deep breath, bracing myself to face whatever lurked beyond the threshold of the kitchen. The shadow had been calling for help, and now it seemed something was responding. The figure in my living room was just the beginning. And I was about to find out precisely what had begun. I moved cautiously toward the kitchen, my heart pounding. The warm glow of the living room felt like a protection I could hardly afford to leave behind. Each step was held back by trepidation, the whispered rustle urging me on as if it had a life of its own. "Hello?" I called into the darkness, unsure if my voice would betray my fear. There was no response, just the soft tap of rain against the window, mixing with the fading rumble of thunder. As I reached the doorway, I hesitated. Light from the living room barely reached the kitchen, revealing dim shapes and looming shadows. Suddenly, a more distinct sound caught my attention, a soft, slow dragging. It was coming from inside, and it sent icy fingers of dread up my spine. I took a deep breath and stepped closer. The fog swirling around my feet thickened, and I felt its chill creeping up my legs. A thought crossed my mind: was it helping or hindering me? Then, I saw it. A chair tilted back against the counter, as if someone had carelessly pushed it away. And there, on the floor, lay what appeared to be a torn piece of fabric. I knelt to inspect it, my hands trembling. It was dark and worn, just like the shadow I had seen earlier. "This doesn't belong to me," I muttered, feeling a sense of wrongness licking at the edges of my consciousness. My gut twisted in a mix of curiosity and fear. Had the figure in my living room left this? Could it belong to whatever was lurking now? A sudden crash echoed from the other side of the kitchen, making me jump. A cupboard door swung open as if an unseen force had thrown it wide. I took another step back, heart racing, pulse echoing in my ears. What was happening? Was I really about to confront something from beyond? Ignoring my better judgment, I stepped into the kitchen and scanned the space. I had to know what I was dealing with. My eyes locked onto the cupboard, half open and gaping, shadows pooling within the corners. It felt like I was staring into a gaping mouth ready to swallow me whole. That's when I saw it, something moving inside. A flicker of pale light, nearly transparent, darted back and forth. My breath caught in my throat. Was it the same shadow that had reached for me? "Show yourself!" I shouted, trying to mask my fear with a shaky bravado. The light paused, flickering like a dying flame, and then darted out. With each pulse of that light, the air around me seemed to thicken, and I struggled to breathe. A wave of despair washed over me, bringing a haunting chill. I was about to discover something I wasn't ready for. Suddenly, the lights went out again, plunging the kitchen into darkness. Panic clawed at me as I instinctively reached for the wall, but it felt different this time. A coldness seeped through a presence that wanted me to come closer. I imagined the shadow's hand brushing against mine, pulling me to finish its unfinished business. I had to fight it. There was something I could discern now, a low whisper curling around my thoughts, insistent and urgent. "Help me remember what they took." I could barely comprehend it. Just then, I heard a faint giggle, high-pitched and echoing as if it were bouncing off the very walls. I stumbled back, heart racing. Whatever was in that darkness was eager to be set free. And I could feel it drawing me in, ready to unveil secrets I had not known I was part of. The darkness pressed in, thick and suffocating. I forced myself to close my eyes for a brief moment, hoping to find some sort of refuge there. But the whisper was still in my head, a steady chant, urging me to listen, to remember. I opened my eyes, and just as the storm outside rumbled, a flash of lightning illuminated the kitchen for a split second. In that brief moment, I caught a glimpse of the corner where the shadow had lingered. It felt like a jolt, electrifying my senses. I hadn't just seen a flicker of light, there was something else, a figure that huddled just out of view, but I couldn't confirm it. Everything melted back into shadows again. My breath quickened, and I wrestled against the urge to flee. Whatever was happening felt too interconnected with me. I could feel it in my bones, a sense of familiarity hidden beneath the terror. With a shaky resolution, I reached for my phone, the dim glow from the screen providing some comfort. As I navigated to the flashlight function and switched it on, I could hear the soft patter of rain, a distant reminder that the world outside continued its course. I needed to find out more. But about what? The whisper? The figure? Or something deeper? The kitchen was a maze of forgotten objects and shadows. I started examining the counters, searching for anything out of place. That's when I noticed an old photo frame propped up against the wall. It was coated in dust, the image almost unrecognizable. I wiped it clean with my sleeve and squinted at it. It showed a family, standing in front of a house I didn't recognize. The smiling faces seemed to mock me, and my stomach twisted. I couldn't shake the feeling of having seen that house before, but in what context? Had I visited it? Or did I just dream of it? Moaning thunder outside seemed to echo my uncertainty. I turned my attention back to the kitchen, pulse racing. I had to uncover the connection. Flicking the flashlight around the space, I retraced my steps, and then I saw the back door was ajar, swaying gently as if someone had left it open in haste. Heart pounding, I approached, remembering the cold, beckoning presence from before, but now I felt an odd mixture of dread and curiosity. "Hello? Is anyone there?" I called, my voice shaky. No one responded, only the relentless wind whistling through the crack. My gut twisted at the thought of stepping outside into the storm, but curiosity drove me to the door. I hesitated, the memory of the whisper clawing at my mind. Just as I was about to push the door all the way open, the phone buzzed in my hand. My heart raced again as I saw a message flash across the screen: "You don't know what you're dealing with. Stay away." The dark realization settled in. Someone, or something, was aware of me, and whatever it was wanted to keep its secrets buried. I backed away from the door, panic rising as I realized my own problems were far from solved. I needed a plan, a way to confront whatever darkness lingered in the night. I couldn't just leave it to chance. And as I turned back inside, the flicker of the ghostly light caught my attention one more time, pulsing just beyond the door's frame, ready to pull me into its unspeakable truth. I stepped back into the kitchen, the glow from my flashlight casting long, jittery shadows. I felt trapped between two worlds, one of night and storm and another of memories I couldn't quite grasp. I needed to make sense of it all, but where to start? Just as I was about to search for something, anything, I heard a creaking sound, unmistakably coming from the direction of the hallway. My heart lurched. I took a moment to steady my breath, though each inhalation felt heavier. I pointed my flashlight down the dark passage, squinting against the sharp contrast between light and shadow. "Is anyone there?" It felt futile, my voice barely breaking the suffocating silence. No response came, just more thunder rolling ominously above. Yet, I couldn't shake this feeling that something lay hidden just beyond my sight. After a long pause, I summoned enough courage to move toward the hallway. Each step echoed, breaking the stillness as I turned the flashlight to illuminate bits of peeling wallpaper and empty frames hanging crookedly on the walls. The whole place felt neglected, abandoned by time, and every corner seemed to whisper secrets of the past. Then I noticed it. A small scrap of paper lying on the floor near the baseboard. I bent down to pick it up, examining its crumpled surface. It was a faded receipt, dated several years earlier, from a local shop. The list of items seemed mundane at first: bread, milk, and a few groceries. But my eyes caught on the last two lines that made my blood run cold: candles, sage, and a crystal. What did that mean? I had never been one to believe in supernatural things, but a tingle crawled up my spine. My instinct urged me to drop it, to ignore the feeling that maybe I should be leaving the house right now. But then again, I had already decided to uncover the mystery. Before I could decide my next step, a loud crash echoed through the house, breaking the tension like glass shattering. It came from the front room. Stiffening, I regarded the hallway ahead. I had to go check it out. Cautiously, I crept toward the room, my heart racing with every footfall. The flashlight beam danced over the walls, highlighting the distorted shadows that seemed to flicker in time with the storm outside. The idea of confrontation gnawed at me, but I couldn't turn back now. Pushing the door open slowly, I peered inside. My breath caught as I saw the overturned lamp lying on the floor, broken glass scattered everywhere. The air felt charged, heavy, and there was a strange scent lingering like burnt herbs. I knew that scent. I stepped inside and switched on the overhead light. As the room brightened, I found something on the coffee table that made my skin prickle. It was a small crystal, clear and gleaming, nestled among a cluster of dry sage leaves. It was exactly what had been listed on that receipt. Suddenly, there was a flicker in the corner of my vision. I turned just in time to see a shadow dart past the window. It was gone before I could fully register it. Panic surged through me. Someone was in the house. I gripped my phone and dialed for help, but my fingers trembled, making it hard to hit the right buttons. I had to focus. Whatever it was lurking out there, I was ready to confront it. But as I prepared to step outside and face the unknown, I couldn't shake the feeling that the truth was becoming more dangerous than I ever expected. I took a deep breath, bracing myself to step away from the safety of the room. The lingering scent of burnt herbs filled my lungs, clouding my thoughts. My instinct told me to run, but curiosity tugged me toward the window. I had to see if the shadow returned. As I approached, I felt a chill seep through my skin. The rain battered against the glass like an angry drummer, but I pressed myself up to the window. Outside, the dark yard twisted under the flickering streetlight, and I squinted, trying to discern any movement among the trees. My pulse quickened, a drumbeat of fear echoing in my ears. And then I saw it again, a figure darting between the trees. It was quick, almost serpentine, vanishing each time I blinked. My heart raced. Was I imagining things? The fatigue and tension were weaving together, creating strange visions. I turned away, dismissing the sight, but something locked my gaze back to the window. Suddenly, the lights flickered, hesitant against the storm's wrath. A soft thud from behind me startled me. I whirled around, holding my breath. Had something shifted in the dark room? I shone my flashlight across the floor but saw nothing besides the mess of broken glass and the crystal nestled in the sage. I needed to know what I was dealing with. I moved back into the living room, trying to steady my mind. My phone still vibrated in my pocket, but I resisted checking it. Instead, I turned my attention back to the crystal, drawn to it as if it held the answers. Running my fingers over its smooth edges, I felt an odd warmth radiating from it, an invitation to unravel the mystery. In my gut, I knew there was a link between the items on that receipt and what had just happened. I thought about what I had learned from the few conversations I had with the locals about the house, the whispered tales of rituals, of disappearances during storms, and the strange occurrences that seemed to follow this place. Then the front door rattled. It was subtle, but the noise sliced through the whirling thoughts in my head. Fear crashed over me. I wasn't ready for an encounter. Footsteps shuffled, low and deliberate, just outside. Is someone there? I called out, attempting to sound braver than I felt. The only answer was the relentless rain. I pressed my back against the wall, my flashlight beam shaking, and the shadows danced like phantoms. Then, I heard it again, the crashing sound, this time louder and more desperate. It came from the direction of the back door. The urge to flee pinned my feet to the floor. But beneath it, an undeniable curiosity burned. Someone or something wanted in. There was no more time for thinking. I grabbed the crystal firmly in my hand, feeling its cold surface against my palm, and made my decision. I had come too far to back down now. As I edged closer to the back door, ready to confront whatever fate awaited me, a new sound reached my ears, a woman's voice calling my name, echoing as if from across time itself. My breath caught in my throat. Who was that? As the voice grew louder, my heart raced with questions. I had to know who was on the other side, even if it meant facing my own worst fears. I paused, my heart pounding in my ears, as the voice beckoned me closer. It felt familiar, yet distant, like a memory just out of reach. The sound was soothing but unsettling, and I couldn't ignore it any longer. I had to know what or who was calling me. With every inch I moved towards the back door, the storm outside seemed to intensify. The wind howled, rattling the windows, and the rain cascaded like 1,000 angry whispers against the roof. Yet, the voice remained clear, cutting through the chaos like a warm summer breeze. "Come here," it said softly, almost pleading. As I reached for the doorknob, an unexplainable mix of dread and resolve pulsed through me. I hesitated, glancing back at the living room, where the shadows stretched ominously. I could feel the crystal's warmth radiating in my hand, urging me forward. I thought I could trust it, whatever it was. I turned the knob slowly, the creaking sound blending with the patter of raindrops. The door swung open, revealing the dark expanse of the yard bathed in flickering streetlight yellow. My breath hitched as the shadows writhed and twisted under the weight of the storm. "Come closer," the voice insisted again, now laced with desperation. I stepped out into the damp chill. My heart raced, and I felt exposed in the open air. The figure I had seen earlier had vanished, but something still felt amiss. "Who's there?" I called out, surprising myself with both the steadiness in my voice and the rising fear within. The rain fell harder, soaking through my clothes, but my senses felt on high alert. And then I saw it. At the edge of the yard, partially hidden by the trees, was a woman. She stood still, drenched and shivering, her eyes reflecting the flickering streetlight. My heartbeat quickened. I swore I recognized her. My mind raced, piecing together fragments of memories, stories, faces, and fleeting glimpses. "Help me," she said, her voice trembling. "Please, you have to help me." The urgency in her tone sent a shiver down my spine. Without thinking, I moved closer, leaving the safety of the doorway behind. As I got nearer, I could see her face pale and drawn, her hair plastered to her forehead. I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came out. Then, without warning, the sky lit up. A flash of lightning illuminated her features, and I froze. She wasn't a stranger, I knew her. But how could that be? The realization sent shockwaves through me, crashing against the wall of disbelief I had built. "Don't let her in." A voice screamed from behind me, snapping me back to the moment. It was a man, his voice edged with panic. I turned to see him emerging from the shadows of the house, his eyes wide with fear. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Just run," he shouted, taking a step toward me. I could feel the world tilt. The woman swayed, her gaze locking onto mine with a desperate plea. As the storm raged on, I had a choice to make. Trust the familiar face that seemed to whisper of help, or trust the stranger who warned me, and my instincts screamed at me to turn back. But it was too late. The moment hung thick in the air, and the choice I made next would change everything. I stood frozen between the beckoning woman and the frantic man, caught in a storm of urgency and uncertainty. The woman's eyes sparkled with something familiar, a thread woven through the fabric of my past. But the man's face was etched with desperation. I could see the genuine fear in his widened eyes. "Please. You have to believe me. Something isn't right," he pleaded, urgency lacing his words like a noose tightening around my decision. Each heartbeat pounded in my ears, a countdown to a choice that could define my future. "No," I finally spoke, shaking my head as I stepped toward the woman. "If you're here, there must be a reason. I can't just don't," he shouted, panic rippling through his voice. "You don't know what she is." The rain poured heavier, blurring the boundaries between reality and the surreal. A flash of lightning illuminated the yard, casting an ominous shadow over the woman standing before me. She looked more spectral with each heartbeat. Was she truly the embodiment of anguish that drew me in, or had something darker gripped her essence? Another thunderclap echoed, shaking me to my core. But I couldn't break whatever connection had formed between us. The woman's eyes locked onto mine, begging for release. "Please, you have to help me finish what was started," she implored again, her voice rising above the cacophony of the storm. A mistake, the man's voice cut through. She south tied to this place. To all of it. I hesitated, torn between conflicting instincts. My gut screamed for me to run inside, to heed the man's warnings. Yet the yearning for connection, the urge to save someone who felt inexplicably familiar, overpowered my fears. The figure swayed slightly, arms reaching out, weathered by the rain like time itself. I didn't know how I could trust her, but the more I looked into her desperate eyes, the more I felt my resolve crack. "Tell me what happened," I demanded, voice trembling with uncertainty. "What do you want from me?" A frown crossed her lips, pain flickering between us like the lightning above. "Not everything is as it seems. You're part of this. You always have been." Suddenly, I felt a shift in the air, the weight of her words sinking into my bones. My memories surged, dreams I had long dismissed flared back to life. Whispers of firelight and voices echoed in my mind, fragments of a past tangled in shadows. "Help me escape," she cried, seemingly breaking through the haze of reality. The urgency in her voice flared into desperation, pulling me closer. The man behind me stepped forward, breaking the hold I felt. "You have to trust me," she's manipulating you. The shadows, they're not just memories, they're echoes of what went wrong. The shadows around us danced violently in the fluctuating light. I turned back to the woman, feeling the storm's chill seep through me. As the rain soaked through my clothing, an unsettling realization dawned on me. What if she was dragging me into something darker, something I wasn't ready to confront? "Please," she cried again, the pleading tone now tinged with anguish. "Help me remember what happened. Then you'll understand." I could see the truth in her desperation, but there was something sinister lingering beneath her words. I could still feel the pulse of the crystal in my pocket, a reminder that some things are meant to remain buried. The decision loomed like the storm above, swirling in shades of both intrigue and terror. I took a tentative step back but was now fully aware of the dichotomy I faced. "Why should I trust either of you?" I said, raising my voice to be heard over the storm. Both figures, alive in their desperation, seemed to falter in their next steps. "Because they're watching," shouted the man, his eyes darting to the tree line just beyond us. "You can't ignore it. You have to break the cycle before it consumes you." My heart raced in response to his words. Shadows twisted and writhed as the voice echoed around me, capturing my thoughts, and the lightning illuminated the figures even as it shrouded the truth. I gripped the crystal tightly, aware it pulsed against my skin like a heartbeat. In that moment, I made my choice. I turned away from both of them, the man's warning buzzing in my mind as I took a step back toward the open door. "No!" the woman screamed, a flicker of betrayal flashing in her eyes. "Enough!" I shouted, a mingling of fear and resolve grounding me. The shadows erupted around her, swirling violently as the storm reached a crescendo. I knew I had to disentangle myself from this connection, the indiscernible threat lurking behind her desperate facade. I rushed inside, slamming the door shut, breathless. The darkness fell again, but it was different now, heavier. I turned to lock the door, the weight of my heart heavy in my chest. But the atmosphere crackled with intensity. I couldn't shake the feeling that I hadn't seen the last of either of them. As the rain drummed against the rooftops, I could still hear her voice calling, echoing from outside the confines of my apartment. "Help me remember." And there I stood, shivering in the quiet aftermath of my choices as the shadows that danced outside lingered just beyond my reach, tantalizingly close yet hauntingly distant, an unresolved tension tangled in the threads of my reality. I had escaped the immediate danger, but tangled within it remained the questions I had yet to uncover. Would I dare face them again? Would I ever truly find peace in this strange city teeming with hidden histories and lingering shadows? For now, I stepped back from the window, heart still racing. Whatever had awakened here felt far from over. I could feel the pressure of unseen eyes, the shadows still clawing at the edges of my awareness, whispering promises of secrets yet to be unveiled. I had escaped, but the threads of the past were already weaving their way back, drawing me towards something deeper, something inevitable.